Campbell Reid, thanks for joining us. There's been a major and concerted attack and strong right across the media today, reaching, of course, into the parliamentary chamber in Canberra. Have you had any direct feedback from government yet?
No, I think we're watching the feedback as direct as it gets live at question time and a little bit in the Senate estimates this morning. But no, I haven't had any direct conversations with anybody in the policy-making sphere today, but really didn't expect to either. We've got conversations rolling into the future, I'm sure.
Now, there's a list of things that the media want the government to look at changing. Some of them are quite complex and intricate, like changing defamation laws, which would act across state and federal jurisdictions, of course, court suppressions and the like. But I suppose the key demand or request or proposal at this point in time is the idea that before police were to exercise warrants against journalists or media organisations, there should be a chance for those to be contested in court. Yeah.
So we're calling this, and it's called a contested warrant scheme. So what we would like to see is a higher court, a senior judge, called in, and on one side of the room would be the investigating authorities to say, we think that there is grounds to investigate this journalist or this media organisation for the following reasons, and at the same time that media organisation should be able to put their case before the judge as to why, for example, what was disclosed was in the public interest, and the journalist's right to keep the public informed overrides the right, or is more compelling than the right of the investigation to proceed. And then a judge would decide, no, the investigation should proceed, or yes, the journalists and the media organisations were within their rights of what they should be doing to keep the public informed. That situation where the laws are applied and then tested by a judge is infinitely better than the mishmash of statements that seem to be coming from the government, on the one hand saying they don't want politicians to have a hand in prosecuting journalists, and on the other hand giving us a guarantee that at the end of the day the Attorney General will decide whether prosecutions do proceed. So we're confused there at what the government's position actually is, but there is a way out of that by having a contested warrant scheme.
Yeah, it is very contradictory, and as you say, there's going to be an ongoing debate about this in the political sphere and publicly, and we'll see whether it leads to any reform. I think the broader point here that's been highlighted by the campaign, by the media today, is concern about court suppression orders, concern about the reach of defamation laws. Clearly, you believe that there are a lot of stories the media should be telling, should be sharing with the public, but daily they're prevented from doing so.
Yes, I think look, if you tell a journalist in the United States, for example, the level of court cases that happen in open court that are then suppressed, they sort of look at you with a kind of state of bewilderment that situation even occurs. And then with defamation, you have a situation where you find yourself in court unable to defend your article on the basis that it was true, and then facing the prospect of defending accusations in the article that you actually didn't make in the first place. So really, suppression orders are out of control in our view. Some of the highest profile cases in the country where indeed the world knew about the result of the case, Australia wasn't allowed to know, and now many journalists in Australia and editors are facing contempt of court over that. Is just in the 21st century, people around the world are looking at Australia just bewildered at that culture of secrecy.
In this latest campaign, Campbell Reid, you must feel some comfort because you've been at the vanguard along with News Corporation's Michael Miller, but on this occasion you've had not only your major competitors at Nine Media side by side with you, but also the public broadcasters, the ABC, supporting you, and the Journalists Union. There's a very, very unified front. Yet I remember only 6 or 7 years ago when News Corp and yourself were at the vanguard against what was a de facto regulation of the print media proposed by the Labor government. You must have felt a bit lonely then. Certainly the ABC didn't seem to be fighting hard for media freedom on that occasion.
It was a lonely time, and look, we as you know, we got extremely agitated, and we were out on a limb. I think I've been reflecting on that, and if you look back at that time, it wasn't only just, it was an incredibly inflamed situation politically, in which the Labor government was tearing itself apart and looking for everyone in the world to blame. And as so often happens, as has happened again recently, when people are looking for someone to blame in this country, the person to blame is often the media, and at the top of the list is often the News Corporation media, which is what happened at that time. And I think, in hindsight, I think there were people with voices, and we love discordant voices because that's the basis of free speech, at the public broadcaster, who I think too easily fell into, well, if it's the News Corporation media that's saying this, therefore it must be wrong and should be brought under control. I think times have dramatically changed. In those last 6 or 7 years, freedom of speech actually has been challenged. And I think the fact that we are now united on this is a sign of how serious things have become.
There have been some other battles, though. There's the 18C debate and the way that suppresses free speech. There was also proposals put up before the last election by the Greens, where they said they could sort of hunt down media enemies. And again, the public broadcasters and even the Journalists' Union were pretty quiet on this front. News Corp's always been consistently fighting for media freedom. Do you think we need to see a little bit more consistency in arguing for freedom of speech from some other major media players?
Look, I've been, as well as those battles, Chris, I've been up to my neck in rallying and organising this one, and I have to say the leadership from Ida Buttrose to the MD of the ABC to their news director has been unbelievably strong, and I think they definitely get the importance of this campaign, and far be it from me to take them to task now. I think they've been terrific.
Thanks very much for joining us, Campbell.